My name is Stephen Ralph. I'm an Aboriginal psychologist. I'm a member of the Australian Indigenous Psychologists Association. I'm Koori. My father, my grandfather both grew up in Redfern. I do most of my work is related to assessments that are for various courts, often in child protection, family law, and sometimes criminal matters as well. I work all over the country, from Broome to Brisbane to the northern rivers of New South Wales to sometimes in northern Queensland. What I'd like to talk about today is about suicide and suicide prevention, particularly as it applies to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. For many people in dealing with issues around suicide and self-harm, it can be a very frightening and very confusing time for people. And people's initial reaction is often one of stress, one of fearfulness about what all this could mean in dealing with somebody who is threatening self-harm or suicide. For many people, they feel that they need information, they need support, they need to have an understanding of what sort of resources are out there within their own community, within their own family. Sometimes it is helpful to be able to get reliable information from people who are knowledgeable of these areas, such as somebody from a local health clinic, a psychologist, a person who's working in the helping professions who is experienced in dealing with some of these issues related to suicide. So for anybody who is dealing with these issues, it's perhaps important that they think about who they can go to for information, who they can trust in terms of being reliable, and in terms of ensuring that a proper response is made to the issue of suicide, so that the person who is at risk has the necessary support and assistance that they require. Suicide affects everybody, but what we do know from research is that men, and particularly young men, are at greater risk than many others. For many teenagers and young men who are making the transition into adulthood, it can be a very difficult, can be a very hard time in terms of coming to terms with what might be expected of you as an adult male, a young adult male who's growing into adulthood. There are particular expectations and pressures that are placed upon young men that are combined with many other factors, such as a tendency perhaps to self-medicate using alcohol, to take recourse to drugs, that may well complicate any pre-existing problems that may exist. You know, life can be pretty cruel and hard for people at times, but people need to be aware that there is help out there for them and that they don't need to battle with these things on their own. It is often difficult to acknowledge that you need help, but it is okay. And people would, your family, your children, your parents, they would hope that if there was a serious issue that you could not deal with on your own, that you would talk to somebody, or you would seek some sort of professional help from a trained psychologist or mental health practitioner. I think it's important to consider that the people who care about you, who love you, and the impact that it would have upon them if you were no longer here and passed away under the circumstances of suicide. It has a profound and highly detrimental effect upon all of those who are left behind. It's important for you, especially, that you are not dealing with this on your own, that there are other people there who are concerned for you, who care for you, who love you, who would want to be able to help you through this difficult time. It's important for each of us to care and be available to assist others who are having a hard time, who may be contemplating suicide. It's important, for example, to be aware of changes in people's behaviour or changes in their temperament over the course of time that may not be verbally stated, but might signify that they are having some real difficulties in coping with their life at the present time. A change in people withdrawing into themselves excessively, of being reclusive, of not wanting to talk, of showing little energy, little enthusiasm in things. That's one indicator of it. Another might be an individual who seems to be, for some reason, incredibly angry or self-destructive or I guess confrontational and argumentative with other people. But what we're really looking for is changes in people's behaviour and changes in their emotional state and what you would consider to be their normal way of being. If you're feeling out of control, it's important that you acknowledge that. Sometimes what is also helpful if you are feeling on the edge and feeling out of control is to look at what in the past has helped you to settle. And that will vary from one individual to another. It might be something simple as going for a walk along the beach, going to a place and sitting quietly in a natural environment and just trying to settle and connect with your environment in a way that sort of restores your own sense of stability and provides you with a sense of peace and calm. And from that position, you're probably in a better position to be able to consider what the next step might be. If you are feeling that you may engage in self-harm or suicide, it's important that you do talk with somebody who you trust and somebody who cares for you. It's important that you take the opportunity to think about who is going to be the most appropriate person to talk to. That could be a family member, it could be an uncle, it could be your father, it could be an elder of your community who you might wish to talk to about how you're feeling, so that you do have the opportunity to share your thoughts and your feelings, so that you're not dealing with this alone. Now, that can be a very difficult time for many men who might not be accustomed to talking about their feelings. I think the important thing to remember is it's not a sign of weakness to be open and honest with the people that you care about. It's important that you do take that opportunity to acknowledge that there are people who care about you, who love you, and who would be willing and able to assist you at times of hardship and times of difficulty. As Aboriginal men, we grow up with many issues that many other people would not be aware of. We deal with adversity in our day-to-day lives. We deal with the hardships of our families and communities that are not experienced by the broader Australian community. But as Aboriginal people, we also have strengths and we have resilience, which has been shown through our survival through 220 odd years of colonisation. We find strength in our connections, particularly our connections to family, community, and particularly connections to country, which is the heritage that we as Aboriginal people carry forward from our forefathers and our ancestors. And it is important for everybody to be not only mindful of the problems that they face, but also of the resources and the strengths that they have in dealing with these problems. We can call upon others to assist, we can call upon our connectedness to our communities, to our culture, to our country, and to the legacy that we carry forward from our ancestors and those who have gone before us for thousands and thousands of years, who have survived and who have cared for this country. If you are feeling particularly down and feeling as though you're at risk of possible self-harm or suicide, it's important in the immediate situation to consider how you're going to keep yourself safe. And for many people, it's important to acknowledge that the experience that you're having at the present time may well pass, that it may be a temporary state of mood that you are in, and that it can pass, and that life can change through simple things that might take place, such as a grandchild walking into the room, the sun coming out. What you are experiencing at that time may not be a lasting experience, but it is important perhaps for you to consider how you are going to keep yourself safe. And sometimes keeping yourself safe might involve a plan as to simply how you're going to keep yourself safe for the next hour. What you're going to do in the next hour to make sure that you're okay, that you're continuing on, you're functioning, you're doing all right. It may be, though, that the thoughts of self-harm, possibility of suicide, are thoughts, feelings that may well pass in the course of time. That those thoughts of suicide and self-harm are possibly just one option amongst many that an individual is considering, and that there are other options that should be considered and will allow people, individuals who are suffering with hardship, to be able to move forward and go on.
Hi, I'm Tania Dalton. I'm the chair of the Australian Indigenous Psychologists Association. I'm a Gunditj Mara Wathaurong woman, currently living down in Geelong region on Wathaurong country. I suppose what, as psychologists, we'd like to say to people is that if you're concerned about somebody, if you're fearful that they're going to commit suicide, the first thing we like to do is reassure somebody to keep eyes on them, make sure that their supports are around them, and that there's no wrong thing to say as long as you are in their space and keeping eyes on them and making sure, even if they don't want to hear it, reassure them that you're there for them.
Often people in remote locations or in the bush are concerned that there's nowhere to seek help, like they can't go to a service or there's no doctors. But there's always your emergency ward. There's always your emergency ward or a help number that you can turn to that will give you some support.
And also the support of your family and the people that love them and care about them. And just have them around them. Even if they want to push you away, just make sure somebody's got eyes on them and are talking to them at all times. I suppose about myth busting, people say that if people won't commit suicide if they talk about it. I say take everything seriously. If somebody's threatening to commit suicide, take it seriously, seek support, seek help. Be around that person until you can seek help for them.
I guess having said that, the other thing too is often people talk about people who say they're going to commit suicide or are feeling suicidal as being selfish, looking for attention. They are looking for attention. They're looking for help. They're asking you to pay attention because they're in deep pain. You know, it's not just something to be dismissed as looking for attention.
If you or your family are concerned about somebody, don't wait and wait and wait. Go and see somebody, call somebody, tell somebody that you're concerned. You're usually the first one that picks up the first little innuendos of this. So don't dismiss what you're seeing in front of you. I think for a lot of people, the word suicide puts fears in the heart of all of us. But all I can say to you is there is help out there. And what we're trying to say is if you seek help early, it's going to bode better for those that are supporting that person and that person themselves.
So if you're looking at this clip and you're feeling suicidal, then what I would ask you is to find someone to talk to. If you can find someone that you trust, that you can talk to. You know, this feeling will actually pass. I know it doesn't feel like this now, but it will. Just find someone to talk to. Even if it comes down to picking up a phone and calling Lifeline, or calling your local health service, or calling a friend, or calling a granny, anyone. There is someone out there who can talk to you and help you get past this place. You know, this too shall pass, honestly, it will. So I guess that's the other thing is people often say, actually aunties and grandparents often say this, they say, I'm worried about that one. They're not right, there's something going on with them, you know, but they don't act on that. And it's that if you're worried about someone, then seek help for them, go and talk to them, you know. But often we think, oh, I'll talk to someone about you, but often that can be too late, so talk to them. If you're worried about someone, make sure that someone's always keeping an eye on them, you know. Someone's always watching out for them and around them. If you're helping someone, if you're spending the time and helping someone who's been feeling suicidal and who's working their way through that sorrow, you need support, You cannot do this alone. You need support. Otherwise, in that moment of when you're resting or not there, something may happen. So you need help as well, and you need support.
If you're a family member or a health professional or a member of the community that is worried about a young person, always, if in doubt or if you have that feeling, listen to that and get the people that you need to make sure that you can check in to see if that young person is okay. If you feel that someone's not travelling okay or you feel that someone's not doing well, reaching out, just letting them know that you're there for them. It's important to listen to understand, and we might not always have the best responses or even know what to say. We can actually say that. I don't know what to say, but I'm here for you right now. It's important that when someone does reach out to you that they are being heard and acknowledged and validated in what they're saying. So that deep listening and active listening and reflective listening is very, very important for them to feel that they've been heard with what's happening for them.